What's up? What's up? What's up, YouTube? It's KG Way, and I'm back with a video. Ooh, I need to do these. I need to stretch my shoulder too. Alright, y'all. We finna get this last reaction video in for the day, alright? We gonna be drawing right after this. I got some portraits to do. Like I said before, I've already done Kai Cenat's portrait. I already did Phantom portrait. Next, I think this one's gonna be Chris portrait because I think that's the picture I got on my computer already. Then I need to do Davis, Duke, and Agent, and then we gonna move along, and we're probably gonna do, I don't know who I'm gonna do after I do AMP, honestly. But like I said, every portrait that's gonna go on my wall is like streamers or YouTubers that has like helped me in the path of me being a content creator. So, you know, I don't know them, but I watch them, and you know, they help me in so many ways that I just wish I could express to them. You know what I'm saying? But enough of that. Let's get into this reaction video. Let's get into it. We got 6-year-old daughter helps solve the double homicide.
There was blood splatter in his room.
Okay, tell me where the blood splatter was in his room.
On his bed, on his floor.
This is Sanaya Jackson. On March 8th, 2014, she was waiting in the car for her mother's. Upon hearing a gunshot, she stepped out and walked straight into a chilling nightmare, witnessing her mother's final moments.
He took them to outside and just shoot them.
Okay, did somebody tell you
6
that,
years
or
old
did you
and
see
have
that?
to go through this.
I see that. He just decided to kill my mother and his daughter.
This brutal double homicide might have remained a mystery, if not for one clever 6-year-old girl who kept herself hidden and became the only living witness, and saw something she shouldn't have, something that could solve the case, but could also cost her life.
I just had my seatbelt on and waited like this so the stranger wouldn't see me.
On March 8, 2014, in response to the 911 call, detectives from the Houston Police Department arrived at the location and found themselves at a horrifying crime scene. The bodies of 2 women were found behind a dumpster, stacked on each other, discarded like trash.
The location of the bodies was at Fisherman's Cove store. Behind this store, there's an abandoned hotel. I knew this case was going to be a tough one.
Detectives were able to identify them as Brittany and her longtime girlfriend, Crystal. It
Don't
was
tell me this
evident that
person has
both
some
Brittany and
kids
Crystal's
dating.
final moments had been deeply traumatizing.
I noticed that one was laying on her back and she had what was a severe gunshot wound to the right temple with an exit wound coming out from behind her left ear. The other was laying on her stomach with a sheet wrapped around the head. We saw that her eyes were swollen and bruised, and it was immediate that she'd been a victim of some kind of blunt force trauma. It was definitely our feeling that it was overkill.
It took somebody with such great force to break her neck with that blow that we knew it had to be anger, it had to be personal.
And as they began scavenging through the crime scene, they discovered some crucial evidence highlighting the gruesome details of the double homicide.
It was a white and green wooden, looked like a shutter for the outside of a window.
There were bloodstains on the front of the shutter. During the scene investigation, we were also able to find some tire marks in the parking lot. The marks left behind had an extreme yaw mark, which is when a vehicle is at a high rate of speed and turns, and we could follow that out into the street. The lack of blood at the scene led us to believe that the bodies were dumped from another location.
But we didn't know where.
As the bodies were sent to be examined closely, detectives made their way to the families of Brittany and Crystal to break the terrible news.
When I knocked on the door, the first person I made contact with was Brittany's great-grandmother.
My name?
Yes, Miss Pham.
My name is Annie Lee Cosby.
She confirmed that Brittany was her great-granddaughter and she had been missing for the last day or so. While we were there, Brittany's father, James Cosby, who also resided with Mrs. Cosby, showed up.
What's going on?
Are you the father, Brittany's dad?
Yeah, James. Yeah, I
Brittany's dead.
They just haven't seen him.
What happened?
That's
what we're trying to find out. Take a minute, but we're gonna really need to talk to you so you can help us so we can find out who did this, okay? What kind of vehicle do they have? It's a Kia. It's a Kia SUV.
Are they having any problems with anybody? I mean, any bad relationship breaks-ups, anything like that that you know, that anybody that's mad at either one of them?
I mean, I don't know.
With no immediate leads on the case and no solid evidence or clues, detectives decided to start by interviewing Crystal's parents at the police station. As they began their interviews, they were taken aback to discover that even Crystal's own father, Ivan Jackson, opposed her relationship.
So you never even would let Brittany come in the house?
The only reason I let her come in the house, when she come in the house, she go sit right there where you sitting.
Okay.
And I didn't like that. I used to tell my daughter, I say, you ain't gay, you just up in the head. You know, I used to tell her that all the time. And you damn straight, because she just experimenting on something. She don't know what she get into.
I
He's
hate
well
that people
known
think like
as
that.
type of a fire and
What?
brimstone preacher, and he has a very staunch outlook on homosexuality.
I accepted it, but he couldn't. It brought friction between both of them.
Tell us a little bit about your daughter.
I didn't like her changing her sexual orientation, but it wasn't nothing I could do because she was grown. I told Crystal that lesbian stuff would take her out of here. I knew it.
Ivan told the detectives
mean
that the
you
girls
disown
had
your
stopped
daughter.
by the Jackson residence to pick up Zanaya and proudly show off the new car they had just purchased together. But things didn't quite go as Crystal had imagined.
She wanted me to come out to see her new car. Me being as stubborn as I am, I wouldn't even get up out the chair.
Crystal left with Brittany and Zanaya. Her mother made multiple attempts to contact her, but Crystal never answered her calls.
My husband said he was going to go to the house and see what was going on. And if Brittany did something to Crystal, he was going to do something to her. But I told him, no, leave the gun at home.
As the days went by and the investigation dragged on,
shit.
the detective eventually received the autopsy report for the two girls. It confirmed that Crystal had been killed by a gunshot wound, while Brittany had died as a result of blunt force trauma. The detectives were still considering Ivan as a potential suspect. However, further details from the report revealed something that turned the case even more twisted, setting the stage for shocking revelations and a trail of new, unexpected leads. The bullet that struck Crystal was from a firearm of a higher caliber than Ivan's own gun. And in the effort to completely clear his name, Ivan consented to let them question Zanaya, who had been with Brittany and Crystal on the day they disappeared. Without delay, an officer escorted the young girl into a separate room. And once the detectives learned about the horrors Zanaya had witnessed, they were left stunned, realizing she might be holding the missing piece to a nightmare no one saw coming.
Would you come sit right here for me? Do you like to color? Zanaya, what is the first thing you do when you get to school?
Eat breakfast.
Tell me everything that happened from that morning to the time you went to sleep.
The morning when I was getting ready for school at 19, my mama was in the car, me and her. My mama said, stay in the car, and I stayed in the car, so I was taking my mom's on off.
During the interview, the information they obtained from Zanaya was in bits and pieces and hard to put together. The police weren't convinced she fully grasped what had occurred that morning until she began describing an encounter she had had with a potential suspect.
I heard something, so I thought it was a stranger, so I just sit it back. I just had my seatbelt on and waited like this so the stranger wouldn't see me.
Brittany, Crystal, and Zanaya used to stay at the Crosby residence with James and Annie. Detectives dwelled on the fact that if there was a stranger who had entered the Cosby house that morning, then why didn't James and Annie report it during the first interview? Detective Kitchens, a rookie handling his first homicide case, was certain that whatever Zanaya had witnessed was not a figment of her imagination. Determined to uncover the truth, he brought James Cosby, the only other person present that morning in the house, to the sheriff's office for questioning.
You told me last you saw Brittany was Tuesday night?
No.
Thursday morning.
Yeah.
What time did Crystal Brittany?
The same time they usually leave every morning. It was like was just a normal morning. Nothing was out of the ordinary.
Another mystery they couldn't solve was why did Crystal and Brittany leave and not take Zanaya to school that morning? And James didn't seem to have an answer to this either.
That's the one thing that's out of the order.
I was trying to figure out.
That's because if normally they would take her to school, yet they left her there that morning. No, man, I know you're doing the best you can. And as things come up, you know you got the number, so call it any time.
Detectives spent hours interrogating James, trying to get more information out of him, but he wouldn't budge. He kept claiming that he had nothing to do with Brittany and Crystal's murders. In the end, with no solid proof to charge James, detectives had to let him go. But the detectives weren't done with James.
Facts.
They knew he was hiding something.
'Cause he did it.
As the investigation
He killed
progressed,
him.
the detectives unearthed additional pieces of evidence that reignited their hopes. Among these discoveries were a bloody fingerprint and CCTV footage that captured the women's car on the night they disappeared.
The girls had just purchased their first vehicle, which was a 2006 Kia Sorento. We knew from what Mr. Cosby had said they left around 7:30, 7:35 that morning. So we wanted to try to get any video that we could anywhere in that area showing that vehicle.
The CCTV footage was from a convenience store parking lot near the Cosby residence. But what they saw in another footage from a different part of the city left them stunned. Neither Brittany nor Crystal was in the driver's seat. Instead, the individual behind the wheel was clearly someone else.
James
Based on the
Cosby.
person's height and build, it was evident they were male. Unfortunately, the surveillance camera had been positioned too far away to provide a clear image of the driver's face, leaving the detectives frustrated, yet determined to dig deeper, slowly inching towards uncovering a crucial piece of evidence. The following day, exactly 1 week after the murders, James's family joined hundreds of grieving locals in downtown Houston for a large statewide memorial. On that same day, Detectives Kitchens and his partner decided to visit the Cosby house, hoping to gather more information. Kitchens planned to question James further, and if possible, speak with Annie Lee, Brittany's elderly great-grandmother, who might offer additional insight into
I
the
hope
family
so.
dynamics.
Hope
When
so.
they arrived at the Cosby house, they learned that James Cosby wasn't home. He was attending a vigil in honor of Brittany and Crystal. Instead, they were met by Annie Lee's cousin, Cora Ledette.
So we get to Houcher Street. James Cosby is actually at a vigil, so we speak with a caretaker that's watching Annie Lee Cosby.
Cora was watching over Annie Lee that day and had been helping around the house for a few years. Hoping she might have seen or heard something unusual, detectives
so.
asked if she had noticed anything suspicious over the past week.
Please say
Cora
yes.
hesitated for a moment, then quietly stepped out of the house, gently closing the door behind her. She motioned for the detectives to follow her into the carport, her demeanor suggesting she had something significant to share. As they reached the carport, Kitchens immediately pulled out his recorder, ready to document whatever Cora had to reveal. What she said next hinted at a secret far darker than anyone was prepared for.
When I looked around, I noticed that the carport was spotlessly clean. And I had never seen it clean before. Never. Even though I had had my grandkids move trash out of there, there was always debris, something that needed to be cleaned up.
Cora quietly informed Detective Kitchens that something about the carport had struck her as unusual. Her tone conveyed a mix of confusion and unease as she emphasized just how out of the ordinary it was. Intrigued, Kitchens began carefully
So is that
surveying
the
the
area
carport, initially
that
seeing
they
nothing
got
out of place.
shot at?
However, as his eyes scanned the area more closely, he spotted a small pile of bricks on the concrete floor, and tucked beneath them was a detail so subtle yet so sinister that it would change the course of the investigation forever.
Why would there be 5 bricks laying here in the carport? There's got to be a purpose for them being there, and what I saw just took my breath away. There was what appeared to be 4 to 5 drops of blood on the ground. I immediately began to look even closer at that point, which is when I noticed 2 more drops of blood up near the door face. That led me to believe that we may be standing in our crime scene.
The discovery sent a jolt of realization through the detectives. They had found what they believed to be the crime scene. Detective Kitchens and his partner, Sergeant Kilburn, arrived at the memorial. They approached James Cosby and placed him under arrest, shocking everyone in attendance. After taking James into custody, Kitchens and Kilburn returned to the Cosby residence to continue their search for evidence. This time, they forced open the garage where James had been staying. Once inside, Kitchens pulled out his UV light, prepared to examine the space more thoroughly. What he saw under the fluorescent glow left him in disbelief. Traces of blood illuminated all around the garage. The evidence was unmistakable. There were bloodstains on the carpet, smeared across the couch, and even on various articles of clothing scattered throughout the room.
Blood drops on the door jamb as you come into the house. Once we made entry into James's bedroom, we started finding blood drops and blood spatter everywhere we were looking. Once we processed the area, we were able to see how much was fluorescing, and to us it was bright like fireworks on the 4th of July. Whatever the bloodletting event was, quite a large amount of blood was spilled in that room.
The overwhelming amount of evidence from the garage strengthened their belief that they now had enough to confront James directly. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, and it was clear that the time had come to press him for answers about his involvement in the tragic events surrounding Brittany and Crystal's death.
James, since we're down here at this office, I have to do, I do this to everybody. I read what's called your advisor rights. Are you familiar with what that is? Yeah, Miranda rights.
Let's see if he lie or tell the truth.
I've been watching TV shows, know that they say Miranda rights. That means you under arrest.
As the hours dragged on, detectives found themselves growing increasingly frustrated with James's cold, detached demeanor and his utter lack of emotion during questioning.
Were you aware that we were back at the house today?
Today?
Can you explain to me why or how in your room where you stay that carpet throughout that room and furniture throughout that room saturated with fresh blood? You've been in that room, sleeping in that room, with your daughter's blood on the carpet.
I didn't know that it's like that. You say I'm.
You can't miss it.
I ain't seen no stain. I would see some stains. I would see some.
She had the Supreme beat out of her. You explain that. You explain it.
And they're going in.
That's your daughter's head smashed in. Throw it away like a garbage. That's your daughter. This is your daughter's brains coming out of the hole in her head.
And James, you did it.
And you did it.
You did it.
The tense exchange continued for over 5 grueling hours, with James offering little in the way of meaningful answers.
Everything points back to James Larry Cosby Jr. And you expect us to believe that James Larry Cosby Jr. don't know. You need to man up. Finish a sentence for me. I'm going to start a sentence. I want you to finish it.
What is it?
I did not do this because...
I'm not finished now.
What are you going to tell us?
No.
Meanwhile, in the forensics lab, experts worked tirelessly to analyze the evidence collected from the crime scenes. During the interrogation, they made a significant breakthrough, matching the bloody fingerprints found near the dumpsters to James Cosby.
Can you explain to me how your print wound up over there where those bodies were recovered in Fort Bolivar?
My print was on what?
The scene.
Okay.
Tell me what's your thoughts?
I have none. I can't make sense of that.
This crime somehow originated at that house.
So what can you tell us about the house?
Nothing.
The discovery was a critical piece of the puzzle, which further proved James's guilt as the case against him began to solidify.
What else we found on the scene? James Larry Cosby Jr.'s sheets wrapped around his daughter's head. And you expect us to believe that James Larry Cosby Jr. don't know?
That's the sheet I sleep on. Or the sheet I used to sleep on.
You wrap her up because you couldn't stand to look at her face and see what was done?
Why did this happen?
I can't tell you why it happened.
His answers didn't make a lot of sense. He would not come clean, would not confess. He just never got past that breaking point.
Despite this new evidence, James didn't confess, and without a confession, detectives could only charge him with tampering with evidence.
So at the end of this investigation, we had collected 307 pieces of individual evidence. This was the most evidence that I'd collected for any crime scene that I've worked up until that point. Once we were done with the investigation, it was plain to us that James Cosby committed these murders.
The fingerprints confirmed his presence at the dump site, but they didn't directly tie him to the murders. This limitation frustrated the detectives, who knew that unless they uncovered additional clues soon, James would face only a minor charge and a short sentence. The clock was ticking, and the pressure to build a stronger case against him was mounting rapidly. Around this time, Ivan began making appearances on local news outlets, sharing his thoughts on Crystal's tragic passing and speaking about how young Zanaya was coping with the heartbreaking loss of her mother.
I knew that the truth would soon come out. I really wasn't afraid because I had not done anything. I hadn't committed a crime or anything. I carry a lot of guilt in me because the things I should have said to my daughter, I didn't say when I had the chance. Watching them put my baby in that vault and have to leave her at that cemetery was the hardest thing that ever happened to me.
His interviews drew public sympathy as he described the toll the events had taken on the little girl, painting a picture of a family struggling to process their grief. It was during one of these moments that something finally clicked for the detectives. A chilling pattern was beginning to emerge, one that had been hidden in plain sight all along. With the additional information they had recently uncovered, Zanaya's initial account from her first interview began to make more sense. The stranger she had mentioned, someone unfamiliar but present during the critical time, was most likely James Cosby. At the time of the murders, James had recently returned to live with his family, making him a plausible match for the figure Zanaya described. Determined to learn more, the detectives reached out to Ivan, asking him to bring Zanaya back to the station for a follow-up interview. This time, they carefully tailored their questions to focus on the specific details of what Zanaya had seen and heard. Their goal was to determine if her account aligned with the new evidence they had pieced together.
Did you ever hear anything from his room?
A gunshot.
You heard a gunshot. Tell me how you know it was a gunshot.
Because he just, in his room, he just said, he took them to outside and just shoot them.
Okay, did somebody tell you that or did you see that?
I see that.
When Zanaya stepped out of the car to look for her mother, it was likely that she wandered into James's room. There, she must have seen the blood and unknowingly stumbled upon evidence of something far more sinister. Though she may not have fully understood what she was looking at in that moment, it would later become clear to her as she learned of Brittany and her mother's murders. The scattered pieces began to connect in her young mind, forming an image of the horrifying events that had unfolded.
There was blood splatter in his room.
Okay, tell me where the blood splatter was in his room.
On his bed.
You saw it on his bed? Okay, did you see it anywhere else?
On his floor.
Some on his floor?
He just decided to kill my mother and his daughter.
Based on this new information provided by Zanaya, detectives theorized what actually happened that fateful morning.
Crystal took Zanaya, placed her into the car. At the same time, on the inside of the house, James Cosby and Brittany Cosby became involved in a physical altercation, at which time James Cosby snapped and beat Brittany to death. Crystal walked back into the house and was watching this take place and immediately ran out the side door to the back of the vehicle, which is where James Cosby, we believe, caught up with her and then shot her in the head.
Oh, man.
From the very beginning, Zanaya Jackson had been the key to unraveling the mystery. Despite her age, the quiet and observant little girl held crucial knowledge that could place James Cosby directly at the scene. She had seen him with a weapon in hand, attacking her mother, a devastating image that could ultimately seal his fate and provide justice for Brittany and Crystal. A month after the investigation began, police made a significant discovery when they located Brittany and Crystal's car abandoned in a desolate parking lot. Inside the trunk, nestled in the luggage rack, they also found a bullet. Detectives worked diligently to piece together the context surrounding the crime. Their findings suggested that the conflict may have started with Brittany and Crystal's decision to purchase a new car together. This act appeared to create tension within the family dynamic, particularly in light of another discovery. Annie Lee Cosby, Brittany's great-grandmother, had recently updated her will.
Annie Lee Cosby had changed her will and left everything to Brittany. because Brittany was already taking care of everything while her dad was not present in the residence.
He had asked Annie to co-sign for a vehicle, and she'd refused. And then she turned around and co-signed a vehicle for Brittany and Crystal. And it starts to paint a picture of jealousy, pure jealousy.
This series of events began to reveal a deeper, more troubled dynamic within the family. James, who was already grappling with feelings of inadequacy and exclusion, likely perceived any support of Brittany and Crystal as a betrayal. It became increasingly clear that this jealousy, compounded by other underlying tensions, played a significant role in motivating his actions and setting the tragic events into motion.
Me and my wife and my church family, we have been praying for life without a possibility of parole instead of the death penalty, because killing him is not going to bring either one of them back. No matter what the situation was, they didn't deserve to die. It's been really tough, but on the same token, that it has made me much stronger, because I know I have a responsibility to do now, and that's raise my grandbaby.
After the case was officially closed, Ivan and Mary were granted full custody of Zanaya, providing her with the stability and love she desperately needed.
Man.
Detective Kitchens, who had been a constant source of support throughout the investigation, became her godfather, forming a bond that would last for years.
It's a relief.
That's good.
What we did for those families.
Despite the overwhelming hardships she faced at such a young age, Zanaya, now a teenager, admirably found the strength within herself to heal and grow from the traumatic experience, showing that even in the face of the darkest moments, it was possible to find hope.
What do you think you might want to do?
I want to be a lawyer.
What kind of lawyer?
I want to work with the family against the criminal.
What made you want to do that?
My mom.
So you want to be able to help other families the way attorneys helped yours?
Yeah, it's okay. Think about the bright side of it, you know?
That's
if your
good.
parent was killed, you are the reason that everybody can be happy because they have you. You're like the seed. Like if you cut down a tree, you're the seed that fell on the ground. So it just sprouts up and you look just like them.
That's beautiful.
Do you think the only motive behind the murders came from jealousy, or did James...
I lost my mom, and me and my little sister was present when she passed, and I felt what she just said, for real. It's been about 6 years now. It gets better. Grief stays for a long time. The way you hold it doesn't have to last. If you lost a loved one, I pray for you. I pray that times get better, and you know that it's kind of just how life goes, to be honest. But don't let it take you out. I should say that. Don't let it take you out. Keep growing, keep believing, keep staying strong. And on that note, we are done with our reaction videos for the day. If y'all stayed this far, hit the subscribe button, alright? I'm gonna see y'all in the next video.